This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the world by selling for over $1 million, and the unbelievable part. It's just a simple penny, dated 1971. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Brown, faded, the kind of coin most people would toss in a jar or slide across a counter without a second thought. But for a handful of collectors, this tiny disc of copper became a life-changing discovery, a coin that transformed pocket change into a fortune. The story begins in 1971, a year when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies. Most rolled off the presses in Philadelphia, without a mint mark. Millions more came from Denver and San Francisco. To the average American, they were all the same. To collectors, however, something strange happened that year, something that would make one of the rarest Lincoln Memorial pennies in history. But before I tell you what it was, imagine this. You're holding a handful of change from the grocery store. Among the dimes and nickels, you spot a penny that looks a little different. Maybe the shine is unusual. Maybe the lettering seems off. You think nothing of it, and spend it without a second glance. That could be the difference between an ordinary cent and $1 million miracle, because in 1971, a rare mistake slipped through the minting process, a flaw so subtle, so easy to overlook, that only the sharpest eyes caught it. Collectors later discovered varieties with doubled designs, faint errors in the lettering, and unusual strikes that transformed a common penny into an object of obsession. A handful of these 1971 no-mint mark pennies didn't just carry minor mistakes. They carried dramatic doubling on Liberty and the date, an error so bold, so undeniable, it sent shockwaves through numismatic circles. Dealers rushed to get their hands on them. Auctions lit up with bidding wars. And one coin, in pristine condition, soared past expectations, climbing into the realm of $1.80 million. Yes, a penny, worth more than a mansion. Why would someone pay such staggering sums for a coin most people would ignore? Because rarity is everything. Every collector knows that what separates a 1-cent trinket from $1 million treasure is scarcity combined with demand. The 1971 no-mint mark double-die penny embodies both. Very few survived in such flawless, uncirculated condition. Most were spent, scratched, worn down by decades of circulation. The ones that did survive, became legends, and legends attract dreamers. Picture the auction room. The air is electric, silent except for the rhythmic voice of the auctioneer. The coin rests under bright lights, every detail magnified for the hungry eyes of collectors. A hand rises. The bidding begins. Numbers climb, $100,000, $200,000, $000, $500,000. And then, in a breathtaking moment, the final hammer drops. Nearly $1.8 million for a coin once dismissed as pocket change, but the story doesn't end there, because the most shocking truth is this: thousands of these coins are still out there. Some sit hidden in jars, tucked away in drawers, forgotten in shoeboxes in attics. Some pass through hands daily, never noticed, never appreciated. One person's spare change could very well be another person's life-changing jackpot. Most people miss it. They never look closely. They never notice the doubling, the details, the clues that separate ordinary from extraordinary. That's why stories of sudden discoveries continue to surface. A man in Ohio found one in a bag of old coins and nearly fainted when he learned its true worth. Another collector purchased what he thought was a regular penny for a few dollars, only to discover it was a hidden treasure worth hundreds of thousands. 1971, no mint mark below it. Then, study the coin carefully. Under magnification, check for doubling in the letters of Liberty and the word, In God We Trust. Look at the numbers in the date. The doubling is bold, dramatic, and unmistakable. If you see it, you might just be holding $1 million coin, but don't stop there. Condition matters. A scratched, dull, or heavily circulated penny may be worth hundreds, even thousands. But a flawless one, sharp edges, brilliant shine, no blemishes, that's where fortunes are made. That's where $1 million miracles are born. Don't mistake machine doubling for the real thing. True double dies show thick, separated impressions. Machine doubling looks flat, lifeless, almost like a shadow. That one detail could mean the difference between $20 and $1.80 million. Think about that. Every coin in your pocket has a story, a journey, a hidden possibility. The 1971 no-mint mark penny proves that miracles don't just belong in museums, they hide in plain sight, waiting for the right set of eyes. So the next time you reach for change, pause. Look closely. That ordinary penny you almost gave away could be your ticket to a new life, your chance at history, your moment of fortune, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It looked like just another penny, worn, brown, and ordinary, but in the blink of an eye, this humble coin turned into a jaw-dropping discovery worth nearly $2 million. Imagine holding a penny so powerful, so rare, that it could rewrite your life story forever. One man did. And the secret behind his penny is hidden in plain sight, because the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is no ordinary coin. It carries with it one of the most shocking twists in U.S. minting history. A twist so dramatic, collectors today are still stunned when one surfaces. The truth will take us deep into a story of minting mistakes, hidden varieties, and a collector's dream find that nobody saw coming, and the most shocking part. You might already have one sitting in your pocket change, right now, but before we reveal what to look for, let's go back to the beginning. The year was 1982. The U.S. Mint was facing a crisis. Rising copper prices were eating into production costs. For decades, Lincoln pennies had been struck from 95% copper. But now, each penny was worth nearly as much in raw metal as its face value. Something had to change. So in 1982, the Mint switched. They abandoned the heavy copper composition, replacing it with a lighter zinc core coated in a thin layer of copper. It sounds simple. But this change created chaos, because that year, pennies were struck in two different metals, both copper and zinc, and to make things even more confusing, the Mint also experimented with two different font styles, a large date and a small date, copper. Zinc. Large date. Small date. 4 combinations. For varieties, and lurking among them, a deadly mistake, because not every penny was marked properly, some slipped out with no mint mark at all, and one of these rare, no mint mark 1982 Lincoln pennies would go on to shock the entire coin collecting world. At first, collectors didn't believe it. A simple penny, with no mint mark, could never be worth that much. Right? But then came the auctions, and the bids, and the staggering numbers that left even seasoned dealers speechless. One of these rare 1982 no-mint mark pennies sold for an unbelievable sum, pushing past $1 million, climbing higher, until it neared the $1.9 million mark, and suddenly, the entire coin world was on fire. But here's the catch, most people were missing the clues. Because the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth nearly 2 million lies in details so small, you could stare at it for hours and never notice, unless you know exactly what to look for. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to their safes. Families began digging through jars of old coins. Everywhere, people wanted to know, could I be holding one of these $1 million mistakes? But the story doesn't end there, because the Mint's 1982 transition year created more confusion than anyone expected. Copper pennies weighed 3.11 grams, zinc pennies weighed just 2.5 grams, and both versions carried overlapping designs, mint marks, and date styles. It was the perfect storm for errors to slip through, and some did. The no mint mark 1982 penny became the holy grail. But what happened next stunned the coin world even more. Stories began to surface. A man in the Midwest pulled one from his pocket change. A teenager found another in a dusty old jar his grandfather had kept hidden in the attic, and in every case, what seemed like worthless pocket change turned into a life-changing treasure. One man's ordinary penny became $1 million miracle, another family's forgotten coin jar transformed into a financial windfall they never dreamed possible, and yet, most Americans still don't know what to look for. Think about that for a second right now. A coin worth nearly $2 million could be sitting inside a coffee can, a shoebox, or even the cup holder of someone's car, completely overlooked. This is where you need to pay attention. Because if you ever come across a 1982 penny with no mint mark, your heart should skip a beat. First, weigh it. If it tips the scale at 3.11 grams, you're holding the heavy copper version. That's the jackpot. That if it's just 2.5 grams, that's the lighter zinc. Still interesting, but not the $1 million prize. Second, study the date. The small date variety is the one you're after. On the 1982 small date penny, the 2 in the date curves delicately, almost softly, with a longer base. The 8 sits taller and thinner than on the large date version. It's subtle, but it's the difference between a penny worth pocket change and one worth a fortune. And third, no mint mark. That if there's no tiny D for Denver beneath the date, and you're staring at a small date, heavy copper penny from 1982, congratulations. You've just unlocked a life-changing treasure. But here's where most people go wrong: they ignore the weight. They assume every no mint mark penny is valuable. They forget the subtle details in the date style, and by doing so, they overlook the most important coin clue of all time. Collectors call it the miracle penny of 1982. Dealers fight to get their hands on one. And when it appears at auction, jaws drop, and wallets open wider than ever before, because this isn't just a coin. It's history. It's rarity. And it's a golden ticket that turns 1 cent into $1.9 million. So tonight, when you get home, don't ignore that jar of pennies sitting on the counter. Don't toss that handful of change aside like it's worthless. Pick it up. Look closely. Feel the weight. Study the date, because the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln penny is out there, and if you find it, your life could change in an instant. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost ended up in a cash register drawer, but instead, it shocked the entire coin collecting world when it sold for nearly $1 million. It's a coin so small, so ordinary, that most people would never give it a second glance. A 1992 Lincoln penny, struck at the Denver Mint. But beneath its simple copper-plated surface hides a secret that could change someone's life forever, because this is not just any penny. This is the 1992 D Lincoln penny with a mistake so rare, so hard to spot, that only a handful are known to exist. And every time one appears, it ignites a storm of bidding wars, collectors scrambling, and headlines screaming about an ordinary cent turned into a fortune. But how could a single penny, worth just 1 cent, possibly climb to a staggering value of up to $1 million? The answer lies in a mystery deep within the U.S. Mint. You see, in 1992, something unusual happened. The Mint was transitioning the Lincoln Memorial design. And in that transition, a tiny error slipped past inspectors. An error so small, so subtle, that you could hold this coin in your hand, look at it a dozen times, and never notice what makes it so special. But for those who do, for those sharp-eyed collectors who know the signs, that moment of realization is like striking gold. The difference lies in the letters. On some 1992 pennies, the word America on the reverse holds a secret. Instead of the normal wide spacing between the letters A and M, there's a narrow spacing. The so-called close AM variety, and while most collectors passed these coins by without a second thought, a few noticed. They saw the mistake. They recognized the rarity. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies surfaced at auction. Dealers laughed at first, thinking, it's just a cent, who would care? But when the hammer fell, jaws dropped. That penny had just made someone nearly $1 million richer. A coin you could have spent on a stick of gum or a gumball machine, suddenly revealed itself as a life-changing treasure. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to check their inventories. Ordinary people dug through jars, old drawers, and forgotten boxes of change, wondering if they too might be holding the miracle coin. And here's the kicker. Most of these rare 1992 D close AM pennies are still out there. Hidden. Sitting in circulation. Buried at the bottom of coffee cans, tucked away in forgotten piggy banks, mixed in with millions of ordinary cents. But what makes this story even more dramatic is how easy it is to overlook the details. Most people glance at their change and toss it aside. Yet all it takes is a second look. One sharp eye. One moment of attention. That's the difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million miracle. Imagine finding one. You're at the kitchen table, sorting through some loose coins. You notice the date. You flip it over. The letters A and M seem off. They're closer than usual. You grab a magnifying glass, your heart pounding. Could it be? Could this be the legendary 1992 D-Close AM? Your hands tremble as you compare it to a normal penny. And then it hits you. The spacing is unmistakable. You found it. The penny everyone's searching for. A coin worth up to $1 million. That's where the story gets even more unbelievable. Some collectors, unsure of what they had, sold theirs for a fraction of its true value. A mistake they regret to this day. Others, patient and careful, sent their coin to be authenticated and graded. And when the results came back, proving their coin was genuine, the bidding wars erupted, prices skyrocketed. Phones rang off the hook. Auction rooms buzzed with electricity. A simple penny, something most people would never notice, had just changed the game, but here's the chilling part. Experts believe there are still dozens, maybe hundreds, of these coins floating undetected in circulation. Think about that. Right now, as you listen, one of these pennies could be sitting in someone's wallet. It could be sitting in your wallet, and that's why this story doesn't just belong to history. It belongs to you, because while the 1992 D-Close AM penny is rare, it's not impossible to find. And every year, another lucky person stumbles upon one, shocked to realize they've been holding a fortune in the palm of their hand. 1992, check for the D mint mark just below Lincoln's portrait. Then flip the coin over. Look at the word America. Pay close attention to the letters A and M. On normal pennies, there's a clear gap between them. But on the close AM variety, the letters are nearly touching. That's the sign. That's the treasure. Don't confuse it with the countless ordinary cents. Don't let it slip by unnoticed. Because missing this detail could mean missing out on $1 million opportunity. Every coin collector knows the thrill of the hunt. The adrenaline of discovery. But this coin is on another level. It's the kind of find that makes headlines, that rewrites a collector's destiny, that turns an ordinary day into the moment of a lifetime, because somewhere out there, waiting to be found, is a 1992 D Lincoln penny worth up to $1 million. And it could be sitting in your drawer right now. It looked like an ordinary penny. Just another coin that had slipped through millions of hands, tucked away in pockets, tossed in change jars, and forgotten in dusty drawers. But this little coin, this 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, would prove to be anything but ordinary. One of them shocked the world when it sold for more than $1 million. And the story behind it is so unbelievable, collectors are still whispering about it today. You see, most people don't realize it, but in 1998, the US Mint accidentally unleashed a handful of coins with mysterious flaws. To the untrained eye, they look like nothing special. But under the right light, with the right attention to detail, these pennies reveal secrets that could transform an ordinary person into a millionaire overnight. Many of these treasures have never even been found. Some might still be hiding in circulation, waiting for someone, maybe even you, to notice what everyone else has missed, and that's where this story begins. Back in 1998, the mint was under pressure. Billions of Lincoln pennies had to be struck and released. Precision mattered, but in the chaos of production, mistakes slipped through. One mistake, in particular, created a handful of pennies unlike any others. These coins carried no mint mark where one should have been, or rather, where one might have been expected. To seasoned collectors, that tiny missing detail changed everything. At first, nobody noticed. For years, they sat unnoticed in piggy banks and vending machine trays. But then, whispers began to spread in the coin collecting world. A rare penny, nearly impossible to spot, was commanding unbelievable prices at auction. And when one of these 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies finally surfaced in pristine condition, the hammer fell at an amount so high, collectors gasped in disbelief. Over $1 million. For a single penny. How could something so small, so common, be worth more than a luxury home, more than a sports car, more than many people's lifetime savings? The answer lies in rarity. And in mystery. Unlike the pennies you see every day, this one carries the weight of history. Experts believe the missing mint mark was the result of a rare die mix-up at the Philadelphia Mint, where no identifying letter was placed. That absence, something most people wouldn't even think to notice, was everything. Because in the world of numismatics, rarity means value, and mistakes mean fortune, but that's only half the story, because what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, a casual collector, claimed he found his $1 million penny in an old coffee tin that had been sitting untouched for decades. He almost spent it on gas. He almost let it go. But at the last second, something told him to take a closer look. That single decision changed his life forever. Dealers rushed to confirm its authenticity. Collectors fought tooth and nail to own it. When it finally hit the auction block, the room fell silent. Every eye watched the bidding war climb higher and higher, until the final price shattered all expectations, over $1 million. For a penny worth just 1 cent on its face, the answer is both simple and dangerous. Simple, because all you need is sharp eyes and a bit of knowledge. Dangerous, because missing this detail could mean throwing away a fortune. 1998, then, study the space below it. Normally, pennies carry mint marks like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But this one? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That absence is the clue. But it isn't just about the missing letter, it's about the coin's condition. The pennies that bring life-changing money are often flawless, gleaming, untouched by circulation, and here's the chilling part: how many times have you had a 1998 penny in your hands? How many times did you let it slip through, never realizing it could have been the one? Collectors were stunned when the news broke. Dealers began combing through every batch of coins they could find. And still, the numbers are so small, so rare, that the few which surface become instant legends, but what most people don't know is that subtle varieties exist. Some 1998 pennies carry unusual die characteristics, doubling on certain letters, or slight shifts in Lincoln's portrait. To experts, these details can turn a coin from pocket change into a 7-figure payday. Think about that. One man's ordinary change jar became his golden ticket. One overlooked penny became a miracle worth more than $1 million. And there are still more waiting to be discovered. Can you feel the weight of that possibility? That in your drawer, your coin jar, maybe even your wallet right now, could be the very coin that collectors dream of. But before you rush to check, here's the final secret: condition is king. Collectors crave coins with sharp details, lustrous surfaces, and no signs of wear. If you find a 1998 no mint mark penny, don't spend it. Don't toss it aside. Protect it. Get it graded. Because the difference between a few $100s and $1 million lies in the smallest details. And here's the haunting truth: somewhere out there, in a forgotten box or tucked away in pocket change, another one of these treasures waits. The question is, will you be the one to find it? Or will it slip through your fingers, lost forever in the rush of everyday life? A coin is never just a coin. It's a piece of history, a hidden story, a chance at fortune, and the 1998 no mint mark Lincoln penny proves it. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed, until one discovery shocked the coin world and turned an ordinary piece of pocket change into a fortune worth over $2 million. It was 1987. The nation was changing, technology was advancing, and the U.S. Mint was mass-producing billions of pennies. Most of them ordinary, forgettable, tossed into jars, soda machines, and piggy banks. But hidden among the sea of copper-plated zinc was a secret. A single mistake. A tiny variation that would later be worth more than a luxury mansion. Collectors call it one of the most overlooked miracles of modern coinage, the 1987 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent. A penny with a mint mark that hides a mystery, a history, and a value so shocking it makes even veteran dealers gasp. But here's the chilling part. This coin doesn't look rare at first glance. You could hold it in your hand, flip it under the light, and never realize you're touching a treasure. And that's why so many people have let it slip through their fingers, unaware that it was worth more than a lifetime of paychecks. One collector in Denver thought he had a pocket full of spare change. He almost spent it at a gas station. But something about the coin caught his eye. The mint mark looked off. A faint doubling. An irregularity in the strike. He saved it, sent it for grading, and what came back stunned not only him, but the entire coin community. That penny, a coin most people would spend without a second thought, was valued in the millions. How does a single cent from 1987, stamped with a D mint mark, skyrocket to $2.30 million? The answer lies in the quiet chaos of the minting process. In 1987, the Denver Mint was working at breakneck speed, producing billions of pennies. Errors were bound to slip through. A doubled die. A weak strike. A misplaced mint mark. And every one of those mistakes created potential rarities. But one in particular, one so rare it's almost mythical, emerged as the crown jewel of the 1987 pennies. This wasn't just a minting flaw. It was a perfect storm. A misaligned strike that created a unique texture across Lincoln's portrait. A mint mark that seemed slightly shifted. And, for reasons still debated, only a handful are believed to exist. That scarcity. That's what transformed it into a multi-million-dollar legend, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, this unassuming penny, a coin that once jingled in someone's pocket, hammered for over $2 million. Dealers couldn't believe it. Collectors were speechless. It was the moment when the 1987 D penny stepped out of obscurity and into history. Someone somewhere dropped that very penny on a counter, thinking it was worthless. Someone else rolled it into a coin wrapper, never realizing they were sealing away a fortune. That's the chilling beauty of rare coins, they hide in plain sight, and here's where the story gets even wilder. Some experts believe there are more out there. Untouched. Unnoticed. Sitting quietly in coffee cans, in drawers, or in forgotten change jars. Each one a potential $2 million miracle. The thought of it has collectors scouring every 1987 D penny they can find, hoping to spot the key details, but here's the secret most people miss. The rarity isn't about the date alone. It's about the flaws. The doubled letters in Liberty. The faint doubling in the date. The unusual appearance of the D mint mark. Tiny details invisible to the casual eye, but worth a fortune to those who know what to look for, and yet, even with these clues, countless people still throw them into circulation, unaware of the prize in their hands. Dealers are whispering about the possibility of undiscovered examples still floating in everyday pocket change. Could you imagine buying a cup of coffee with a coin worth over $1 million? It's happened before. And it will happen again. Collectors were shocked when they learned how few of these coins exist. Some estimate fewer than 10 are known. That's rarer than most gold coins. Rarer than many famous errors. And each one is a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Here's the truth. The ordinary 1987 D penny is common. Billions were made. But the rare one? It stands out if you look closely. Check the date for doubling, especially on the 1 and the 7. Examine the word Liberty under magnification, doubling there is a dead giveaway. And most importantly, study the D mint mark. A misaligned or doubled D is the hallmark of the rare variety. Miss these details, and you could pass over a coin worth $2.3 million. But spot them? And you'll hold in your hand a piece of history, and a life-changing fortune. So the next time you sort through your change, don't ignore the pennies. Don't assume they're worthless. That dull copper-colored coin could be your miracle. The exact 1987 D penny that collectors are desperately hunting for. 1 man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And yours could too, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost disappeared into a cash register forever, but instead, it became a coin that shocked the world when it was valued at over $1 million. A simple 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Ordinary at first glance. The kind of coin you've probably seen 1,000 times. But in the shadows of history, one version of this coin carries a secret so powerful, it has turned pocket change into a millionaire's treasure. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were stunned. How could a penny struck in the early 90s, a year when billions of coins were made, suddenly surface and be worth up to $1.30 million? The story begins with the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. In 1991, the Mint struck countless Lincoln Memorial pennies, so many, they were never expected to hold special value. But somewhere along the line, a few coins slipped through the presses with microscopic differences invisible to most people, differences that would later ignite bidding wars at major auctions. And here's the twist, many of these errors weren't discovered in pristine collections or coin shops. They were found in circulation. In pocket change. In everyday drawers. That's what makes this coin so dangerous, and so exciting. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the mid-2000s, stories began circulating of rare 1991 pennies selling for tens of thousands of dollars. At first, people thought it was exaggerated. A hoax. But then, professional grading services confirmed it. Flawless specimens, untouched by circulation, were worth extraordinary sums. And as the years went on, the value only climbed higher. Some estimates soared beyond $1 million. Why? Because condition isn't the only factor. The mint mark, or rather, the absence of it, created a mystery that collectors couldn't resist. The 1991 no-mint mark penny, struck at Philadelphia, was never meant to hold secrets. Yet under a magnifying glass, specialists began spotting strange details, double dies, weak strikes, and in rare cases, striking errors so dramatic they became once-in-a-lifetime finds. And here's where it gets truly unbelievable. One man in Ohio reportedly pulled a 1991 penny from a handful of change after buying a cup of coffee. At first, he didn't think twice. But later, when examining his coins, something about the penny's sharpness caught his eye. He sent it for grading, and weeks later, the report came back. His ordinary penny was now valued at over 6 figures. What he almost spent on a candy bar turned into the down payment for his dream home. But that's not the end of the story. At auctions, whispers spread. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on these coins. Every time one appeared in high grade, especially those preserved in mint state red, the bid skyrocketed. Collectors who thought they'd seen it all were left speechless. And the reason was simple: this wasn't just a coin. It was a piece of modern history hiding in plain sight. Imagine the suspense. Every jar of pennies, every forgotten drawer, every dusty coin collection suddenly held the possibility of $1 million miracle. Most people have already touched a fortune without even knowing it. How many of these 1991 pennies have slipped through the cracks? How many were spent at gas stations, dropped in vending machines, lost in couch cushions? The thought is almost unbearable, and yet, the hunt continues. But what makes this coin truly unforgettable is its connection to the larger story of the Lincoln cent. For decades, the penny has been America's most humble coin, overlooked, undervalued, tossed aside. Yet again and again, it delivers surprises that change lives forever. The 1991 no-mint mark penny is proof of that. Here's what to look for. First, the absence of a mint mark beneath the date. If your penny reads 1991 with no small d or s, you may have something special. Second, check its condition: bright, uncirculated, with that fiery red copper glow. Third, look for errors. A doubled image on Lincoln's profile, a misaligned strike, or even unusual thickness in the lettering can mean the difference between a 1-cent coin and a 6-figure fortune. And one final warning. Many people overlook the value of pennies from this era because they assume only older coins matter. That mistake has cost collectors millions. The truth is, modern coins can be just as valuable, sometimes even more, because in the end, this isn't just about metal. It's about possibility. About the dream that the smallest coin in your pocket could change your life. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a second look at that penny. Hold it to the light. Examine the date. Because hidden in your hand could be a 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny worth up to $1.3 million. One man's pocket change became a miracle. One coin almost lost to time became a millionaire's treasure. And this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.